All right, folks. Well, welcome and thank you for coming to our monthly webinar. My name is Justin Cooper. I am a hard money lender and full-time real estate investor. Each month, we bring in some of our friends in the industry to share their expertise. This may be through a presentation, like when we talk about a self-directed IRA or title insurance, or we may simply interview our expert friends and dive deep into how they got started, where their investing has taken them, and what they see coming for both themselves and for the industry. I also want to say thank you to everyone who made it onto the event today. We know that you're giving up some of your precious time, so Sheena and I will do everything we can to bring you the value that you're hoping for. Now, this webinar is brought to you by Pine Financial Group. Pine Financial is Colorado and Minnesota's premier hard money lender. Pine focuses on the needs of Colorado and Minnesota real estate investors. We are investors ourselves, and we know what it takes to get deals closed. Everyone at Pine Financial Group is dedicated to the success of its clients. We only experience success when our clients are succeeding. So we have a habit of telling you when a deal should not be done. Isn't that what you expect from a professional in the industry, especially someone that you trust as an advisor? You will benefit from our honesty and integrity when you choose to work with us. Now, if you're in Colorado this coming weekend, Saturday, May 6th will be our Real Estate Investor Success Summit. This is the premier real estate investor event. We're expecting between 300 and 500 attendees. We will have 8 local experts and investor speakers, 20 vendors, an expert panel, and of course, the networking happy hour at the end of the day. Best part, there will be absolutely no sales pitches. If you are not yet registered, please go to www.denveriss.com to register. Again, that's Denver ISS, like Investor Success Summit, denveriss.com to register. Now, tonight's webinar brings in a longtime friend and investor, Sheena Blankenagel. Sheena is a full-time investor and has been involved in multiple types of real estate transactions, including fix and flips, rentals, wholesales, and she has used all kinds of creative financing techniques on both residential and commercial properties. Sheena began the Western Colorado Association of Real Estate Investors back in 2014, which now has over 150 members. Sheena, can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into the interview?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the introduction. I appreciate it. Very well done. And you pronounced my name right, which is always appreciated.
I was worried about that.
You did well. So a little bit about myself. I've been a full-time investor for about 6 years now. Had the opportunity to do all kinds of fun stuff, everything from, like you said, creative financing to single-family, multifamily, commercial, foreclosures, all kinds of fun stuff. And it's all been here on the western slope of Colorado. So that's a little bit about what I do for work.
Perfect. Well, so tell me a little bit about what you're doing today. How are you making money in today's market?
Yeah, that's a good question. So right now, Grand Junction and the Western Slope are a fabulous area for doing fix and flips. So we're doing a lot of those. We've got about 5 rehabs going on at any given time. So that definitely keeps us busy. And then, when I find properties that don't quite fit my personal business model, that don't fit exactly what I'm looking for, we'll wholesale those to other investors. But we keep most of what we get. And then, of course, I'm always picking up as many owner finance properties as I can to build my own rental portfolio. I'd much rather have a seller carry the loan than try to go get a conventional loan from a bank. So we pick up a lot of owner finance properties that way. So
okay, that's interesting. So why have you tried getting a conventional loan per se, or have you had some difficulties because you're self-employed?
So not for a while. Yeah. So the first house that I ever bought, I had a job and I had W-2'd income, and I looked good on paper to the bank, and I was able to qualify for loans. But when I got to the point where I was just sick of the 9-to-5 and had to jump into the real estate full time to stay sane, all of a sudden banks didn't want to lend me money anymore. It's like, as an investor, you can show, hey, look how good I am at managing properties. Look how good I am at making my mortgage payments, whatever. They don't care. Like, they want to see the W-2 income. They have their specific criteria. And so I haven't tried to qualify for a loan lately. But, I tried when I first quit my job picking up rentals through conventional financing, and nobody would give me a loan. So I don't even try anymore. I'd rather, go through the ease and convenience of just having the seller carry it back than answering all of the questions for the bank, just for them to say, nah, we don't like it. Try somewhere else.
Exactly. We hear about that all the time because so many real estate investors are self-employed. And one of the
Yep.
great things that we can do as being self-employed is to write off maybe even everything or close to everything. But the problem with that, of course, is you're not showing any income. So I think that's a lot of things that people run into is they try to pay as little as they can in taxes, which is great. It's a benefit of being self-employed, but then they don't show enough to get a loan. So it's kind of a balancing act sometimes, right? How much can I write
Exactly.
off? How little can I pay in taxes? But can I still qualify for a loan? So it's kind of a balancing act. And, thankfully, you're in a place where you don't necessarily have to worry about that and play that game because you understand the creative finance techniques and you can find properties that fit exactly what you're looking for, which is, or at least in one way, not having to qualify for a regular loan.
Exactly. And it is important, I think, to, like you talked about with the balancing act, to have, a good tax advisor or CPA that you can work with, because taxes aren't exactly like a sexy topic in real estate investing. Nobody really wants to talk about it, but I really believe that taking advantage of the tax benefits in real estate are how you create long-term wealth on a larger scale by taking advantage of that. And so it's important to work with your CPA to kind of do some planning for the future of, hey, in next year I do want to qualify for conventional loans to take advantage of these amazing interest rates, before they keep going up. So you kind of just got to do the balancing act and keep a good CPA on your team who actually knows what they're doing when it comes to real estate.
Exactly. I totally agree. I think I mean, we're at a great time of year where people either just filed or they filed an extension and they're hopefully wrapping up their taxes. But it's also a fairly quick and easy conversation with a mortgage lender and say, hey, I want to qualify. These are the price points I'm looking in. What do here's what I've done in the past. What do I need to do in the future? So when I file taxes, for 2016, what does that need to look like so I can get a loan? So
Exactly.
definitely bringing in both sides, your CPA and your mortgage lender. Both will probably come at you from different angles. So it's up to you,
Yeah.
to play that middle ground. And that's why hopefully we're making the big dollars as the investor.
Exactly.
Very good. Well, Sheena, let's back up for a few minutes here and tell us how you got started in real estate investing.
Yeah, like I said, I was working the 9 to 5. I was actually a massage therapist and looking at doing some retirement planning, and came to the realization that I was never going to be able to retire in the financial style that I wanted to, not, any kind of crazy style, but I wanted to live comfortably in retirement. And I didn't believe that a massage therapy career path was necessarily going to get me there as quickly as I wanted to. So I kind of figured, if I want to make more money, I should probably learn how money works. So I took myself down to the library and checked out all of the books I could find on financing and money. And it just so happened that the first one I cracked open happened to be about real estate, which I hadn't known from the cover. And so I was reading through and turning the pages, reading about compounding interest and, the tax advantages. And I just thought to myself, why is everybody not doing this? So I went and turned all the financing books back into the library and picked up all the real estate investing books I could and took those home and just began reading everything I could get my hands on. Took as much, advantage of the online stuff as I could. Attended all of the success summits, like the one that you mentioned. I did and still do go to as many training events as I can and things that way, just to, and I just kind of found a passion for the real estate investing that has brought me to the place that I'm really enjoying. I really like what I'm doing. It's fabulous. So
Great. And so how long ago was that you picked up that first book?
I think 6 years. I think it was like late 2010.
Awesome. Awesome.
So
And what a great time to be diving in as well. So,
yeah.
really, to get started, you kind of bootstrapped yourself, right? At least on the education side, really just using libraries, right? I mean, potentially free access to library books, anything online.
Mhm.
How many different, have you signed up for a mentor? Did you go through any kind of programs like that? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, I didn't want to do it part time. Like I didn't want to just kind of try it out. I came home and told my husband I'm quitting my job. I hate it. Like I'm done, done with the corporate shuffle thing. I was in a management position and I just hated it. And so I did all the free learning that I could, and then still felt like I was just kind of too afraid or just too inexperienced to actually pull the trigger on anything. So I started looking into some mentors and some coaching, and found one that a local coach that really resonated with me, Denver based, and jumped in for 6 months of coaching. And I gave myself 30 days to do my first deal, or I was going to have to go out and get another massage job. So I was pretty motivated to do my first deal, which I did. Luckily, I didn't have to go back out and get a regular 9-to-5 job. So did the coaching for 6 months, liked it so much, had experienced so much success. I had already made back what I spent in the coaching, and decided to go ahead and extend that coaching for another year, just because I really wanted to jump all in, both feet, no looking back. So.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, let's jump ahead a little bit here. Tell us a little bit about what your best deal looked like.
Oh man, there's a lot of good ones. The best one, and you we talked about this question, and I probably should have thought ahead a little bit more. There's one that we did just recently that was really cool. It was kind of in more of an astute area of Grand Junction, up on the Redlands. And it was a higher end house. Usually we try to focus really kind of middle, right down the middle path, so that we can kind of hit that biggest buyer's pool. And in Grand Junction, that price is about $180,000 is kind of the median price point where things are really flying off the shelves.
And so you're talking about an after repair value there? The 180 is like an after repair value?
Exactly. So after it's fixed up and cute and on the market, about 180 is kind of our target. So, we have to pick them up for, quite a bit below that, and then put the fixing into them, and then get them on at 180 is kind of the goal. But the best deal was actually more of like a $500,000 house. And just with, so it was definitely riskier, because things in that price point take a lot longer to sell here in Grand Junction. So there was a lot more risk, and we were looking at, the cost of holding and financing, and it was quite a bit larger than we were used to, but we were able to just do a little bit of work, and had a few buyers come in and look at it, and found somebody who wanted to continue fixing it up to their own taste. So they bought it kind of as is, but we were able to make about 60 on that. So just kind of doing minimal work, and, making a pretty decent profit without having to do a whole lot, because sometimes at that higher price point, those buyers are looking for something very specific as far as finishes and things like that. So it can be more difficult to make those decisions. So that's why generally we like to stick at that 180 price point, because, those finishes, we make them very vanilla, appealing to everybody, so that they sell quickly. So that one was kind of a fun one, just because it was our, one of our few higher end houses that had kind of an exciting profit margin for how little we put into it as far as time and effort went. So
Gotcha.
That was kind of cool.
So from the time you bought it to the time you sold it, how long was that ballpark?
Oh, that one was only, like 3 weeks. So it was super quick. Yeah,
that's great. That's great. And so how did you find it? How did you find that one?
I didn't hear you. Oh, how did I find that one? I have spent so much time in my area, in my marketplace, branding myself and making sure that everybody knows what it is that I do. And so pretty much most of my deals now come through word of mouth, because people know that I like those houses that need work, and that I can close quickly. I have the cash to do it. Rarely do I actually use my own cash. I use lenders like Pine and lenders like that. But, you can still call yourself a cash buyer. And so when you can close quickly and you make deals happen, after a while, people start realizing that that's exactly what you do. So most of our deals come from word of mouth. All my friends know what I do. And that one came to me via word of mouth, a friend of a friend who had a house to sell. So.
Okay, great. And so you mentioned your branding. So how have you branded yourself? Is there a certain name that you might go by?
Yeah. So I put up a lot of bandit signs, those annoying ones that you see all over. We buy houses. Well, so we buy houses is like the most boring thing you could possibly say on a sign. So mine says Blondie buys houses. Totally obnoxious, but people call me, and no, Blondie is me. So that's a little bit of the branding that I've done. And then just being the facilitator of the Western Carry meetings, the RIA club that I run out here, that has afforded me a lot of branding as well. People just know that, if, what am I trying to say? I guess that's just kind of put me out there more as far as like on the internet and locally as far as what it is that I do. And then honestly, in the last year, I've really increased my social media presence. It's
Okay.
amazing how much social media can communicate to people these days. And so I'm just always posting. People love seeing like the before and after pictures and the ugly houses when we first start. And so I'm just always putting up pictures of things like that we do, and people see on Facebook and know that that's what I do. I'm gonna turn around here. The sun's kind of in my
Yeah,
face.
I
Can you
was
see me
noticing that.
okay?
Yeah, that's better.
um, yeah, thanks. So that's kind of how I've just established my street cred here in Grand Junction of what it is that I do.
Awesome. Well, let's flip to the other side of the spectrum here. Tell us a little bit about your worst deal. What did that look like?
Yeah, so my worst deal, I partnered up with somebody on a couple of deals, and the partnership didn't go so well. Initially we didn't have anything in writing. We didn't have a very solid understanding of the other, of each other's responsibilities and our own responsibilities. And so that kind of just ended in like a fiery explosion of badness. So partnerships can be really amazing and can really leverage each other's good points and each other's strengths. But if you don't have them structured correctly, they can be super damaging. So, partnerships are great if you have the correct infrastructure and you have an attorney draw up all your docs and make sure you're all lined out. So that would have to be, I think, my worst deal was a couple of deals that I worked on with a quasi partner that fell apart, and we both lost money, and it was a bummer. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I always tell people that it's forming a business or a partnership isn't just going and getting an LLC, with the Secretary of State, right? I mean, one of the most important documents you'll get is the operating agreement, right? Which tells everybody how the business is going to operate.
yep.
And especially for a partnership, if there's two or more of you, if you don't have an existing relationship or you haven't done anything before, sit down with an attorney and have that, independent attorney ask the questions. They know what questions to be asking to fill in that operating agreement, because it spells out not only how do we divvy up the profits when everything is great and who does what, but it's also when it does go down in a fiery mess, how do we divide it and who's still responsible for things. And, it's a super important document. And if you're not familiar, you can, download something from the internet, but really if it's a new partnership, it should really get an attorney involved, sit down, pay the expense, because ultimately that expense will probably save you in the long run. Even if it does go down in a mess, it'll at least be an organized mess.
Hugely. Very sound advice. Yeah. I've done many partnerships since, and they've all gone really well. And I've got like a 17-page operating agreement. It's a mess of its own kind, but it protects everybody. So
Right, exactly. And now everything's spelled out, right? So everybody can agree to it before you get into it. Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about that though. Like what started going wrong? I mean, obviously you didn't have anything spelled out. It was more of a handshake deal, but what were some of the telltale signs of this isn't going the way it should, and then how did it progress?
Yeah, so something that you have to be careful of with any partner is life stuff happens. And so in this situation, some life events that were unplanned came about that made it to where this partner was unable to fulfill their duties of the partnership, in that their time was more unavailable, their expertise was unavailable, just because they had a sick family member and things like that. So of course, that's where your attention should go when a life event happens. But that it kind of left me hanging out to dry and having to pick up the slack and take care of all the duties that the partner was supposed to be taking care of. Does that answer the question? I can't remember what the question was now. How did it go badly? What were the telltale signs?
Yeah. So what kind of led up to it? Yeah.
Started like they just stopped talking to me, stopped answering phone calls, texts, emails, and just kind of left me. I was under the impression that the job was being done, that the rehab was being done, and I showed up on the job. Nobody was there. I called the subcontractor and said, "Where are you guys? Why is nobody at work?" And they said, "Well, nobody's paying us anymore. We're owed thousands of dollars." So I was thinking everything was going smoothly, and then come to find out nothing's being done and no work is being done. So I had to jump in and kind of become the general contractor for the job, which was an expensive lesson because I didn't have any experience doing that at the time. So
I'm sure. So what do you think one clear lesson you learned from that experience might be?
To make that I'm always in charge. I am always in charge of the partnership. I always am calling the shots. I am always 100% comfortable with the agreements, with how things are going to be funded, with whose responsibilities are going to be what. I don't leave that stuff up to anybody else anymore. It's me calling the shots. So
Yeah, and you've earned that right. I mean, you're running, a local RIA. You've got years of experience, multiple deals under your belt, so you've earned that right. And you've been burned in the past, so that's the only way it would work if you want to partner with Sheena, and that's okay. But for other folks who maybe are brand new, maybe they're getting started and they're looking to leverage a partnership. I mean, you don't have that ability, right? You don't have that experience and track record yet. But I mean, going back to what we talked about, having everything spelled out so it's clear, because unfortunately, something did happen unexpectedly and just life got in the way. But having an operating agreement or some sort of agreement spelling out what to do if that happens. So whether you're the experienced or the newbie or wherever you are in that partnership, should be super important to really spell out what those steps are and how we communicate what needs to happen.
exactly, just making sure that everything is super clear and everybody understands it completely, and that everybody's attorney understands it completely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So at some point in your journey, and maybe we've already mentioned this, but a light bulb came on and you had that aha moment. Something clicked and you said, this is an awesome idea. What was that aha moment for you? Let's hear not just what that was, but what kind of led up to that.
Um, well, that's a good question too. I think probably my first aha moment was when I got my first wholesale fee, my first wholesale profit. And I thought,
Okay.
this is repeatable. Like, I can do this over and over and over. Like, and it dawned on me that, when I first got started, like with the wholesaling and looking for the properties, I was doing what a lot of similar newbies do. You look on the MLS and you can't find anything, and you're like, oh, there's no deals out there. Well, the thing is that you can't find anything on the MLS anymore. There's nothing on the MLS. And so when I realized, how I realized that there's no like secret recipe. The secret to actually being successful as a wholesaler or rehabber and finding deals is doing the looking that other investors are not willing to do. So you have to do the direct mail. You have to go knock on the doors. You have to wear a shirt with your brand name on it and let everybody around you know what it is that you're doing. You have to go and hang up the bandit signs, even though in the beginning it's like the most scary, embarrassing thing, because you think that there's like bandit sign cops, so they're going to roll up and like steal your signs and kick you down the road. You just have to do all that stuff. And so it dawned on me that is what it takes to make it happen. And a lot of people that get started, they just don't want to do that stuff. I really believe that to be successful in real estate investing, you have to accept that you're going to be out of your comfort zone a lot. And that's not going to go away. Like, if your career is always expanding, I am still out of my comfort zone all the time, like doing new deals, learning new things, attending new events, and meeting new people and all that stuff. Like, you get better at it, you get more comfortable at it, but you always need to be finding new ways to be out of your comfort zone to keep extending your company and expanding your business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree.
That was a long-winded answer.
That's perfect. No, I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, first off, getting outside of your comfort zone is so important, because even if that comfort zone expands and now it's out here, the market may change. And so now, in order to capitalize on the changing market, it needs to expand more, or it expands this way, or whatever it may be. Your comfort zone is always going to be expanding, because there may come a time where there are bandit sign cops and they shut you down and cut them up and whatever that may be. And that doesn't work anymore. So what else can I do? And or everybody starts putting out bandit signs. So what's that next step? Maybe it is knocking on doors or something like that. Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right that this is a business, and you have to be able to put in a lot of hard work in order to be successful. Some people might be able to make it a hobby, where they just buy one rental property a year or every couple years and then have the tenant pay off the property. And that's great. But if you really want to be successful as a wholesaler, as a fix and flipper, it is a business, and you have to dedicate yourself to it. Absolutely.
Absolutely true.
So have you had, along the same lines of an aha moment, have you had an I made it moment?
Yeah, the cool thing is like as you get better and better at what you do, you get them more and more often. Like I was thinking about it, just like it's funny you say that because like just 3 days ago, I was out looking at a house. The realtor called me. She says this is a pocket listing. It's not on the market yet. Do you want to come take a look inside before it goes live and make an offer before it goes on the MLS? Which that's just a direct result of the networking and branding that I've done over the years. I have a lot of agents that bring me stuff before it hits the MLS. And so, I go, I meet her at the house. I set the appointment when it's convenient for me. I meet her at the house. I wander around this ugly house, which has the obligatory blue bedroom and pink bathroom. You know what I mean? Like every one of them has a blue bedroom. I don't know what that's about. And I'm sitting there with my little 1-year-old on my hip, talking to the agent, laughing and looking at the house. And I thought, this is exactly what I want to be doing. I'm not sitting in a cubicle. I'm not listening to my boss gripe at me. I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. And after this, like we're going to go play at the park because I don't have anywhere I specifically have to be because I make my own schedule now. So, so I kind of have those periodically where I think, I am so glad I did this. This is so much fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me one thing that really excites you about your business today.
I think what really excites me, sorry, I'm trying to adjust my screen here a little bit. I think what really excites me is the fact that now I have so much infrastructure in place that when I find a deal, I know my market well enough that when I find a deal, I know it's a good deal and I can pull the trigger immediately. I can make an offer verbally within 15 minutes with the agent or the seller or whatever. And I know that I can make it happen because I'm confident in my knowledge of the marketplace and how much the repairs are going to cost me and how much time it's going to take me. And so just realizing that I've kind of gotten to that point is exciting just because having all that stuff really dialed in frees me up to learn new investment techniques that I might want to participate in and things that way. And, it creates more time that I can spend doing things that I want to do because I'm so dialed in on some of the actions it takes to make the business work. So.
Awesome. So what kind of vision do you have for the future, both personally and in general about real estate investing?
Yeah, so that's a good question. The entire reason I got into real estate investing is because I don't really like working all that much. Like I'd much rather be playing. As crazy as that sounds, like I'd rather be off doing fun stuff, not involving work. So the entire reason I got into real estate. What does that mean for
you? What kind of playing do you like to do? Is it taking the 1-year-old to the park? Is it getting up on the mesa?
I really like to travel. I love to travel. My family lives far away, so I like to go visit them, and I like to go new places. And I've got some hobbies, like I'm an equestrian. I have horses. I like to take them out to do fun things. We do a lot of whitewater kayaking, so just stuff that makes life really rich. You know what I mean? So yeah. I'd much rather spend my time doing that, and so that's why I got into real estate. Was because I wanted to create more passive income, so that I would have the time to go do that stuff that I want to do. So that's kind of what I'm always driving toward, is finding additional ways to create multiple streams of income that are coming in more and more passively. That's my goals for the future, is how can I create more passive income so that I can work less hours and spend more time doing all that fun stuff that I want to do.
Okay. So can you expand on that? What are the different passive income streams that you're looking at? The multiple streams of income.
So, so rental, acquiring rental properties is always, of course, a fabulous passive income. It depends on how you structure it, of course. It's not completely passive if you are taking the calls to fix the broken toilets. And, right. I did that in the beginning, and then I realized that my time is worth so much more than lining up plumbers. So I tried to kind of turn over some of those duties. I try to spend my time in my business doing the things that my specialized skills are best utilized, like finding deals, negotiating with sellers, things like that. And the stuff that's easier to find other people to do, like keeping the books and things like that, I hire that stuff out now. At first I did it all on my own, but I've really been able to expand how much volume I do by having somebody else do those more mundane tasks for me. So, having the rental properties is a good stream of income. When we pick those up with seller financing, we pick up a lot of subject to deals, people that are really motivated. It's a great way to, pick up those properties and just turn around and rent them out. And we're looking into getting into some note investing as well, just to create some additional streams of income as well. So that's
Awesome.
kind of the main things that we're looking at for our passive income.
Awesome. Very good. So got just a few more questions left, and then maybe we'll go to the folks on the call and see what kind of questions they have. But what is the best advice you've ever received?
I think the best advice I've ever received was I was sitting down with my coach and I was, I laid out I had a list. I'm a list person. I laid out a list of everything that I'd done. I've sent out this many letters. I've taken this many calls. I've done, this many postcards, this many bandit signs. And he looked at me and says, good. Now do everything to the nth degree. That like the N, like that's like, like the infinity. Like, so everything that you're doing is good, but do everything to the nth degree. Do it all more, because your business will grow as much as you grow it. So the more that you put into it, the more that you're going to get out of it. So now I just try to do everything to the nth degree. Everything that's working for me, I say, now how can I do this times a billion or 10 or whatever? Like, how can I really make this bigger now that I figured out how to make it work?
Right, absolutely. So can you share one of your personal habits that you believe contributes to your success?
Yeah, I think, and it's something that I'm always still trying to get better at, is effective time management. So many people, I think, and me included, if I don't plan properly, I spin my wheels and I don't get as much done as I could. So, at the beginning of each week, I make a list of everything that I want to accomplish for the week, and then I put it in my Google Calendar or task list or whatever with like the allotted time that it's going to take to get that accomplished, and kind of plan out my week every Monday. And I'm telling you, the weeks that I don't do that, I don't get nearly as much done. So proper planning and effective time management makes a huge difference. And that's something that if you don't know how to do it, you have to learn, because it doesn't come naturally for most of us.
Exactly.
So yeah, that, and I try to do the stuff I don't want to do the most first. So I get that stuff out of the way first.
Okay. Yeah. I think what Brian Tracy wrote a book called Eat That Frog, which is basically that premise, right? I mean, if you
Yeah,
do the biggest and worst thing first, then everything else you do for the rest of the day is easier, right? So if eating a frog is the
exactly.
worst thing you're going to do, just do it first and get it out of the way. Yeah.
Exactly. I love it.
So where did you learn your time management techniques? Was there a certain book? Was it that same coach, or what did that look like?
Um, I'm always trying to continue growing my skills, not, in real estate and just kind of in like business management. And so just multiple books on how to effectively manage your time and how to effectively run your business and how to do it when you're the one doing it all, kind of thing. So just lots of, I guess, just like self-taught, just lots of reading articles online. Um, there's a plethora of places to learn effective time management. And I probably should go to some sort of like a class or seminar on it, because there's all kinds of those available too. And just, I think the biggest part is just having the diligence to make yourself do it, to make myself do it on Monday morning, putting my goals for the week on paper and scheduling them out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's step one, right? Is actually hold yourself accountable to those things. And then as you're reading these different articles and books and going to the different seminars and stuff, testing it, right? Don't just sit there and learn the book smarts of it, but actually apply it. And did I get better? Did I get worse? Give yourself time to test it out and see if that actually does have the benefit that you're hoping for. So you
Exactly.
kind of mentioned a few things here, but do you have an internet resource that you are in love with that you would like to share with the listeners?
In love with. I think, I don't know, probably just the big ones that everybody else knows about. Bigger Pockets is a good one. CRE Online, I like. Um, yeah, there's just, all the forums. And then, I don't know, it's like on Amazon, you can grab some really good authored books on real estate investing for like pennies. You know what I mean? It's so cheap to gain the knowledge initially to kind of get yourself up and rolling. So, yeah, I think online probably just are those two.
Okay, awesome. So looking back, what advice would you give yourself when you were just starting out?
Mm, oh, that's a really good one. I think probably just don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone, and don't I guess be what's the word I'm looking for? Be the one in control. Like, don't let other people run over you or tell you how they think it should be or whatever. Like, listen to your gut and do what you know is right. Whether it's a minor or a major decision, like, don't let other people tell you that they know better. You know you better, and you know what's better for you better as far as your goals and what you want to get accomplished. The only person that really knows what's a good fit for you is you. So don't let other people tell you what that is.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So, how about a book recommendation? Is there any one book that you're just loving right now, or maybe a book that you've gifted the most?
Um, yeah, oh boy, what is the title? There's a few good ones that are kind of around the premise of like the greatest like myths in real estate investing, or like what it's something to the effect of like what real estate investors don't tell you, or something like that. And it just goes over like all of the scenarios that you could potentially come across that you don't hear about when you're listening to some pitch on TV, or
Right.
something, like the real estate pitches that you go to the hotels where they want 70 grand for you to sign up or whatever. They're not going to tell you some of those things you need to be aware of as far as like the inner workings of some of those things. So I would say oh man, I don't know if I have a favorite title. But yeah, I like some of the ones that aren't as well known, I guess.
Okay. Very good. Well, I think we got some questions here from the attendees, so let's
Oh,
dive into some of those. So Darren is asking, what type of marketing for houses do you do the most of, and also what works the best for you?
that's a great question. Hands down for me has been direct mail. Um, I do a lot of yellow letters, follow up with the postcards. I spend a lot of time and a lot of money making sure that they look handwritten, whether I'm paying somebody to handwrite them or I have like a handwritten font on my program, the yellow pad, the red ink, handwrite the envelopes, pay some high school kid to handwrite the envelopes while they watch a movie or whatever, you know what I mean? Stamp the envelopes, not with the bulk stamps, like stick on the pretty stamps. The direct mail is absolutely hands down the best return on my marketing dollar, and I get the most qualified leads, and am able to convert the most deals. I like them because there are no realtors involved, so you're not having to deal with getting realtors paid and get them their commissions. You're able to work directly with the seller, which for me cuts out so much time when you're having to go through two agents to get something across to the seller. It drives me nuts. So I want to work directly with the seller, and direct mail is absolutely the best way to do that.
Gotcha. Awesome. So I think that actually answers a few people's questions here. Along that line of owner financing, somebody asks, what interest rate do you pay on owner financing?
That's a good question. As low as possible. depends on
Exactly.
how depends on how motivated they are. Like, so I've bought properties before where there was no interest rate and 100% of the payment went directly against the principal of the house. And when I refinanced in 5 years, I'd built up 30 or 40 grand in equity just in payments with without paying any interest. So those are my favorite. I like to pay, like, my goal is to pay like 5% or less, I guess, on our
That's
financing.
awesome. Do you get
It's the
that?
go. Yeah, I do actually. Grand
That's
Junction is
awesome.
a really great place for owner financing, um, just because it's kind of a retirement community here as well. There's a big amount of retirees here, and a lot of them are looking for that residual income that can come from carrying the payments on a house. And 5% is more, than that people are getting a good loan conventionally for, but I've paid up to 6 or 7 depending on the deal. Like, if I can get the house for a lot cheaper, I'll pay more in interest. But if I'm paying, above market rate for the house and it doesn't need any work, it doesn't need any fixing, and I can turn around and rent it out immediately, I don't mind paying a little bit more in interest as long as the numbers all work out and it makes sense.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So again, along this owner carry stuff, how do you convince owners to carry the mortgage if the property is not free and clear?
Ah, so I do my best to not work with anybody that I have to convince. So going back to kind of like the marketing and stuff, your entire goal is to find motivated sellers. There is nothing that will be a bigger time suck than talking to people who aren't motivated to sell. And somebody who's not motivated is not going to take terms, especially if they have an underlying mortgage. So you need to be talking to the people who don't have a lot of options and who need to sell. And so when you explain it to them and, explain how the wrap works and explain to them how you're going to meet their needs with this deal, that's really the key. As long as you're taking care of their goals, whether it's a little bit of cash or whether it's not having to worry about the payment anymore or just never having to see that house again, whatever it is, if you're meeting those needs, it's going to be a lot easier for them to accept that wraparound contract that I believe that the question was referencing.
Gotcha. So how do you find motivated sellers? Is there anything, you kind of mentioned the yellow letters, the direct mail, you mentioned bandit signs. Do you have any other methods that you're using?
Those are the main ones. There's always stuff you have going on in the background. Like you always have your Craigslist ads up or your ads in the newspaper, things like that are just always going. But the most effective way to reach motivated sellers is through direct mail, and it's very targeted. So I rarely do like a shotgun approach where you just mail to a whole zip code. You can get a lot of leads that way, but I'm mailing specifically to people that are in really motivated situations, whether it's foreclosures or absentee owners. Like you can call the title company and for like $20, you can get a list of hundreds and hundreds of names of people whose mailing address is different from the property address, meaning they probably don't live there. So just shoot them a letter. If they're out of state, even better. So you need to you just think to yourself, who's in a motivated situation? Like somebody going through a divorce, somebody whose house just burned down, somebody who had to move unexpectedly and now is making 2 mortgage payments. Find those people and find out how to talk to them, whether it's through a letter or a phone call, knocking on their door, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. What about pre-foreclosures? Do you reach out to anybody on that type of list, or have you found a certain list that works well with pre-foreclosures?
That's a good question. I haven't done a lot of pre-foreclosures. So here in Colorado, the foreclosure process is about 4 months. And as soon as somebody hits the list, of course, you can see the list every week of the new people that are going into foreclosure. That gives you 4 months to reach out to them. So I haven't done much with pre-foreclosures. I just give them a holler as soon as their NED is filed.
Gotcha. So along the creative financing stuff, question is, how long do you keep subject twos before you refinance, or do you ever refinance?
Yeah. So as long as possible. Depends on the seller, depends on how motivated they are, depends on how savvy they are. I have some that have been rolling since I got started. I just signed a contract with a lady the other day who said, she's fine with me taking it over subject to, but she wants a 6-month balloon on it where she needs to be paid off in 6 months. I plan to fix and list that property for sale like a rehab. It's not going to be a hold. So I'm fine with signing that 6-month balloon with her. So totally depends on my goals for the property, if I want to hold it long term or if I want to fix and flip it, and depends on how motivated the seller is and how savvy they are.
Gotcha. So along the rental properties, what tools do you use to determine what rents are in the area that you're investing?
Yeah, good question. At this point, I know pretty well just because I've been in my marketplace long enough. But when I was still trying to figure it out, I would just go on Craigslist and other classified ad sections and, punch in the criteria of the house that I was trying to determine and see what everybody else was charging, and compare how nice that landlord's property was compared to the one that I was trying to rent out, and just kind of keeping your ear to the ground on what's going on in your local marketplace. Like, how is the rental inventory, what time of year it is. Like in December, sometimes I've had to lower my rent or accept a little bit lower than normally what I could in the summer months. There are online stuff that you can use, like what is it called, like Rentometer or something like that. I know that I've looked at that before. I found that for Grand Junction, it's not super accurate because there's a lot of rural properties around here. So sometimes that kind of throws the skews off. And just talking to other landlords, asking what they're getting in rents, and always call the for rent signs that are in the neighborhood that you're looking to rent and ask what they're asking.
Yeah, so, exactly. I mean, sometimes that's like so obvious, right, that people don't do it. But I mean, there's really no better way to know what the market will bear than to find out exactly what is going on in the market by calling those signs or calling property managers, right?
Exactly.
So along, again, I think the passive income, what what is your goal in dollars for monthly passive income? And if you're not comfortable, you don't have to obviously say that, but do you have any certain goals? Like when will you feel again, maybe that, I've made it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when I first started out, I just wanted like 4 grand a month passive income. And then you find that when you reach that, you're like, well, I can do better than that. So, maybe we'll shoot for 5 grand a month in passive income or 10 grand a month in passive income. So it totally depends on your goals, what your needs are, where you're at in your life. Just look at, here's my expenses for the month. Here's how much cushion I'd like to have, and then set your goals based on that. It's so different for everybody, and it depends on where you live and what you want to do and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, it depends, on how much debt you have. I mean, if every one of your properties is financed, well, you need more coming in, right? But if they're all free and clear, now you have less obligations each month, so you can pay less, right? So you
Totally.
need less to stay afloat. So do you stick to the Grand Junction, or do you invest in other markets too?
I invest all along the Western Slope. So we do things like Parachute, Carbondale, out towards Mac. We've looked at some things like in Aspen, Glenwood Springs. So kind of just the whole Western slope of the state. But we haven't really ventured into Denver, and I don't really want to. Like, your market is
Okay.
so hot over there that I've got my niche here in Grand Junction, and I talk to people in Denver all the time that are saying, hook me up with what you got going in Junction. Can I lend over there? Can you find me a deal over there? Because there's just, there's a good market here for it. Um, so we've kind of stuck to the Western Slope, but we've looked at going outside areas. Like, we're always wondering where we can buy like vacation rentals, because we're like an hour and a half from Moab. So we're looking at picking up some VRBOs out there that we can, block out for the weeks that we want to stay there and rent it out the rest of the time, or the dreams of, well, let's get a rental property in Hawaii and things like that. So we're always looking for sure. But so
Gotcha.
far, it's mostly the Western Slope.
Gotcha. Awesome. So jumping back to your wholesaling days, or I guess maybe the early uh, times there, how long did it take you to build your buyers list when you were wholesaling?
Yeah, so I get that question a lot. People are so concerned about the buyers list, and I don't get it. Like, I don't get the excitement of the buyers list, because the thing that's hard to find is the deal. And when you have a good deal, all you have to do is go to your local RIA club or post it on Craigslist. And if your deal works, like if the numbers make sense, the buyers are going to come out of the woodwork. And then, of course, you need to do the due diligence and qualify them, make sure that they actually have the cash to close, check out their reputation, make sure they're actually buyers, because there's a lot of buyers out there who say, oh, I'll buy, but they don't buy. So after a few deals, you're going to put together a list of like 3 to 5 people maybe that are going to buy up everything you have. You do not need a buyer's list of 400 people. You're never going to talk to them anyway. Like, you're going to have 3 people that are going to buy up everything you come up with. So focus on finding the deal first, and then call me. You know what I mean? Like, call me, I'll buy it. So the buyer's list
Exactly.
is the easy part, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. If you find a good deal, it's relatively easy to find a buyer, especially in
Totally.
today's market. I mean, anywhere in Colorado and even in Minnesota for the folks on the line. I mean, it's easy to find a buyer because the markets are so hot. But I remember, back when I was getting started and I was looking to buy wholesale deals, and I was getting on people's lists, and I'd see the email list, and I would go out there and I'd look at the properties, and I would send them back an email 3 paragraphs long about everything that I'm not comfortable with and I don't like, and I'm not sure about this. And, I mean, when you have a massive buyers list, you're going to deal with people like me when I was doing that stuff, right? And that just slows you down, right? I mean,
Exactly.
if you're finding good deals, your job is to find and negotiate the best deal, right? And then just get rid of
Yeah.
it and make a couple bucks on it. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
you only need a couple really strong buyers.
Exactly. And just like go to your local RIA club and talk to people like you, Justin. Like, I'm sure do you know anybody looking for a rehab
I,
property, Justin?
I know a few
Anybody?
people. I know a
So
few
you go
people.
talk to somebody like Justin or Justin himself and say, look, I've got this deal. I think it makes sense. You know of anybody who's looking? Or, hey, better yet, can you take 5 minutes and just run through these numbers with me? And Justin will tell you if they don't make sense. And then you're saving yourself a lot of time um, by not pitching a deal that doesn't work.
Exactly. I mean, if you are truly brand new and somehow this amazing deal fell into your lap and you want to wholesale it and it's your first deal and you haven't been networking or anything, find the big influencers, right? Find the hard money lenders who lend money to investors, right? Because all of my clients want to buy properties. Find the people who run the real estate investor associations, right? the person who knows all of the investors in town.
Exactly.
Find those influencers and talk to them and say, hey, I've got this good deal. Are you interested? Or who do you think would be able to move on this quickly?
Exactly.
Because we know those people, right? We talk to these
Yeah.
people all day, every day.
There's your buyer's list right there.
Exactly. I think a few more here. What's the best way to find a reliable coach? What kind of diligence did you do when you found your coach, if any?
Yeah, so when I was first getting started, I went to a couple of those ones that are like super pitchy and they're nationally based. And like, thank heavens I didn't have enough money to buy the big program because man, they get you so pumped up there and they're like, yeah, spend 40 grand and we'll get you all hooked up. And the thing is that I don't think you need to spend that. Like if your heart is on fire for this business and you have what it takes, the ambition that it takes to make it happen, you don't need to spend that much money on coaching. So for me, it was really important to find somebody that was local. I wanted somebody that was in Colorado because, I spent a couple $1,000 with one of those national coaches. And every time I called, I talked to somebody who was getting paid like $7 an hour to answer my questions who lived in, Connecticut or whatever. Like they don't know what's going on. So I wanted somebody that would answer the phone when I called, or was available to talk directly. Like I didn't want to talk to like a minion. I wanted to talk directly to the coach, somebody who would be available, quickly. Like if you're working on a deal and you need an answer, you need a coach that you can talk to relatively quickly. And it's got to be somebody that you click with, like just somebody that meshes with your personality type. So that was some of my criteria, was just looking for somebody local who knew what they were talking about, who is actually currently doing it. Like I think a lot of people are out there selling coaching who are not actively investing in real estate, and that is not a good fit because they need to be actually investing as well. So those are just some of the criteria that I think are important when looking for a mentor.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the market's always shifting. So having somebody who's still doing deals is important because they know what it takes in today's market. And then someone local, again, they know what's going on in today's market, in your market. Because someone sitting in a call center in Salt Lake City, flipping through their binder to find the right answer, it doesn't know whether you should open up this wall between the kitchen and dining room because they don't know what's going on in Denver or Grand Junction or wherever it is, right? They don't know what the market wants in those places. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna tag on to that. It doesn't matter how good your coach is if it's about you. Like it's about what you're willing to put into it. So even if your coach is fabulous, it really just comes back to what kind of time and effort you're willing to put into the business. So before you go out and dump a bunch of money on coaching, make sure that it's that it's really what you want to do.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's all about taking action, right? I mean, if you're going to put out that money, and that's why a lot of these courses cost so much money, is because they know that the only way to actually get people to do something is to charge a lot of money. I mean, people sell the same value in a book that you can buy in the library or just rent from the library, right? For free, essentially. You can get the same type of information, but they know that paying that huge price tag will probably get you off your butt and get you doing something.
Ideally.
Exactly. So here's one. Why do lenders hang on to foreclosed properties for years? Are they buyable or voodoo? I thought
Lenders
this was an interesting question.
like Wells Fargo that foreclosed and is that what I don't understand the question. Like lenders meaning like Pine Financial, like had to foreclose on a rehab or like
Yeah, I'm assuming more like the Wells Fargo type stuff. Yeah, I'm interested in your thoughts on that.
So why are they holding on to them? Are they voodoo? Was that the question?
Right.
Oh man, there's so many factors. I think that even super awesome people like Justin and I don't fully understand as far as these large scale lenders and why they do what they do. I think that from like an economic standpoint, they know that they can't list all or a bunch of them all at the same time because it would flood the marketplace and affect all of the surrounding prices. So there's that. I think there's a lot of balancing that large scale banks and lending institutions have to balance with like their portfolios and their books. They have to have a certain amount of liquidity and they're looking to get things off their books, but they can't do everything all at once. And the thing is I really don't think too highly of banks personally. So I swear that a lot of times they just don't even know what's going on. I talk to people sometimes who, they see a foreclosure in their neighborhood, has been there for a year, they want to buy it, and they think, well, maybe I'll just go call the bank and talk to somebody at the bank. But the problem is it can be impossible to even track down who owns that, because over the course of 6 months or a year, 2 months, like that bank might sell that note 2 or 3 or 4 times. So 4 different banks have it at any given time. So you don't even know who owns it. And half the time the bank doesn't even know if they own it either. Like, even if you get a hold of somebody at a call center at a bank asking them about a specific file, they're probably not going to be able to find it because it's en route to being assigned to another lender. So it's just a mess. I think, like, from a beginning standpoint, going after REOs, not a great place to start, because they're getting purchased right now for close to retail. Like, as investors, we can't compete with what a homeowner is willing to pay for an REO, and they're either getting bid up too high or just getting offered too much on them for a price point that we can pay as investors. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the REOs because there's too much competition, and I don't know. I don't know if that even answered the question.
I kind of agree with that. I don't know if foreclosures is really. I mean, it's certainly still a buzzword, right? I mean, you can still hear the ads on the radio from the national gurus kind of coming through town saying they're going to teach you how to buy, REOs and bank-owned foreclosures. But I just don't see that in the marketplace, in really any of the markets that, people are probably on this call from. Foreclosures just aren't the factor that they were a couple years ago.
Pick them up before the bank takes them back. Get on it.
Exactly. I mean, there'll always be foreclosures, right? Somebody's always going to have some sort of circumstance going on. So there'll always be some amount of foreclosures, but just not what it was in years past. So, reaching out to different types of lists, different types of distressed sellers, and finding out those different situations, and then targeting them with specific scripts and conversations and pieces of mail and whatever it may be. That's where you're going to get. If you strictly focus on REOs, it's going to be a long, slow haul, I think.
Well said.
So I think we're just about out of questions here, and just about out of time, actually. So 2 more questions. Everyone says a good deal, but what is a good deal for you?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So everybody's numbers are going to be different a little bit, to some degree, because everybody's paying different amounts for financing or can do some of the fix up themselves or whatever. My suggestion is, when you're initially looking at deals, if it's something that you're looking to fix and flip for yourself, to just use that quick and dirty formula, the ARV, the after repair value, times 70% less your repairs. And, somewhere in that ballpark is what you should be paying. If you want to wholesale it, of course, then you do like the 65%, so you can keep 5% for yourself or whatever. So when I'm looking at a deal, that's like the first thing that I do. I say, I know my neighborhood well enough. I know that it's worth this. So times that by 70 minus the repairs, I can pay this amount. And if they're listed at 50 grand over, I know that we're way too far apart. I'm not even going to make an offer anyway. So just having like a quick and dirty formula that you can use for yourself initially to just glance over it. And then if it kind of, if it falls within those parameters or it's close, then do some additional due diligence to find out if it is in fact a good deal.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the way I approach my investing as well. I have certain questions and criteria and formulas and whatever you want to call it that I use, but I don't use them all at once. I use them, it's kind of a tiered approach, right? When I first see a wholesale deal or an MLS listing come across my desk, all right, well, what's my first test? Is it worth, getting in the car and driving out there and taking a look at it? Okay, well, if it hit that test and I go out there and I look at it, well, what is the repairs? And, is it really going to be this, or did I not notice it backs up to the interstate highway, or like, what is it? And then is it worth making the offer? And then from there, okay, and you just keep having these different litmus tests, if you will, to see if you should keep moving forward, ultimately all driving towards what is a good deal for me. And all those questions will get you down to that, to those questions.
Yes, exactly. And from kind of a different perspective, you're going to be reviewing deals that people bring you. But what I believe you should be spending most of your time doing is going out and talking to motivated sellers. So when you're talking to them, hopefully kind of what the ARV is, so you back that down based on that formula, and then what you're going to offer. And at that point, it's not, is this a good deal? It's, will they take this price that I'm offering? Because this is what's going to make it a good deal. This price is what I can pay. Can you, Mrs. Seller, accept that? And then of course it's a good deal. So you need to know how to analyze them, and you need to know how to work the math so you know what to offer when you're talking to your people that have called you from your beautiful piece of direct mail.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? I mean, if for me, I'm not actively marketing towards, distressed sellers or anything like that, but I have a ton of wholesale deals come across my desk. I have agents bringing me, deals all the time saying, what do you think? And then of course my clients, asking for hard money loans. So, having those kind of tiered questions. Okay, so should I get in the car and go look at this wholesale deal? And okay, should I make an offer on it? And down and down. Whereas you're looking at it from the other way because you're doing so much direct mail. When you go out to that property, you already have a lot of that stuff done. You know the neighborhood, you know the ARVs, and you know the formulas in your math, so that as you're walking through, you're building your scope of work on the site. You're talking to the seller, finding out their different stress points of what may be their different cues, so that when you sit down, you've already done the math. Okay, I know the ARV for the neighborhood is this. I know my formula is this. I know the repairs are this. And so to structure this deal best, like this is how I need to present it. So absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Some great points there. All right, last question, and it might kind of be a big one. What do you foresee with regard to the market's direction over the next few quarters or seasons? And what is your strategy should there be a minor or major market correction to the downside?
Oh, that's a really good question and really big. So I'll be honest, I'm not super dialed into the Denver marketplace. I know that you guys are going through some craziness over there, and I have a lot of friends that invest over there and that are home base over there. And some of them say, I think that we're kind of reaching the top, and I'm going to start backing off because I think things are going to start going down. And I have other people saying, I think in Denver we've still got another, year or whatever of this this kind of volume. So I don't know exactly what's happening in Denver. Here
Yeah,
on the
so
Western Slope.
we've got people all over the country on the call with us. So, I mean,
Okay.
so just speak, to your market. What do you see happening on the Western Slope, and what direction, and what's going to be coming over there?
Yeah, so here on the Western Slope, things are increasing. Like the market is increasing, in regards to real estate at a really healthy rate of like about 3% per year. So we're just kind of climbing up. We tend to tail Denver and everything from radio to fashion to real estate. Like we're just a little bit late here in the Western Slope, but we're experiencing a growth that is healthy and sustainable, in my opinion. And so like our anything under about 200 just seems to fly off the market. Even under 250 is doing really well. And I think that things are going to continue to go up here. Things that are still kind of holding us back in the Western Slope is our wages are still a little bit depressed, which kind of tends to keep real estate prices down just because there's less people that can afford it. But I think that things are just kind of, the real estate market is definitely increasing. There's a lot less on the inventory this year than there was at this time last year. Last year, quite a bit less, and the days on market keep shrinking. So it's a great time to be a seller. Like I am trying to put as many deals on the market as I can right now because I love how quickly they're selling. That means that it's going to be harder and harder to find good deals on the MLS, and you're going to have to really start focusing on on your direct mail and things like that. As the market kind of tightens up, you start having to look a little bit deeper for those motivated sellers. So I don't know if that fully answered that question. That was a run-on question in a good way.
So, if and when there is a correction, what are you going to be doing to potentially capitalize on it?
I think that no matter what the market's doing, of course, there are multiple different strategies. You got to kind of strip your strategies around, but you're always going to be looking for the people that are motivated to sell, no matter where the market's at. And I think that it's important to, increase your passive streams of income, whether it's through rental properties or notes or whatever, so that when, more difficult times do come, you're able to kind of coast on your passive income to kind of keep you safe and secure. So I think that it's really important to have a diversified portfolio when it comes to real estate. I don't really invest in anything much other than real estate, but I think diversifying is a good way to kind of ride out any kind of a downturn.
Gotcha. Perfect. Well, Sheena, I think that wraps up both our time on the call tonight, as well as all the questions that I had and our attendees had. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed listening to your journey and the stories that you shared. Maybe before we sign off, maybe one last parting piece of guidance, and then the best way for us to get a hold of you.
Yeah, so a parting piece of guidance I think for people that are getting started is don't get caught in a trap where you think you're isolated. You got to keep going to your RIA meetings and talking to other investors and spend time around people that are like-minded. There are a lot of naysayers who say real estate investing doesn't work or whatever, and they don't know what they're talking about. You need to be spending time with people who are doing this so that when you are analyzing deals and looking over deals, you can go to those people and say, is this a good deal? To kind of tag on to what that last question was of, how to know if something's a good deal. Like, go talk to somebody like Justin or like myself, because we love working with people who are new and show like that kind of ambition. It's exciting for us. And so we're more than happy to spend 5 or 10 minutes analyzing a deal with you. So just make sure to surround yourself with like-minded people and never stop learning.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Sheena. And what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you if they're out in the Western
Yeah.
Slope and want to pick your brain, maybe?
Absolutely. So the best way to reach me is probably, I don't answer my phone as much as I answer my email. So email is probably the quickest way to get a hold of me. And I'm at sheena.propertylinks@gmail.com. So property links, plural, that's the name of my company. Sheena.propertylinks@gmail is the best way to get in touch with me. And I'd love to hear from you. I love chatting about real estate and answering questions. So I really appreciate you having me on the call, Justin. This is fun.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Sheena. Looking forward to seeing you here in a couple of weeks when I come out and join you at Western Carry. And if anybody on the line is from Grand Junction, Pine Financial is now lending in Grand Junction. So please, I would love to look at any and all deals and chat with you. I'll be spending a couple of days out there when I'm out there in May. So please, if you have any interest or just want to, chat, definitely look us up. Happy to get to know you. Sheena, thank you so much for spending your Tuesday with us. It's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit better. And to everybody else, we do these once a month. So check out pinefinancialgroup.com. We've got an events tab. Check out meetup.com. Pine Financial has several different meetup groups. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thanks, Justin.